Hello. So while Julian is napping and I felt this burst of inspiration, I just wanted to share my birth story. So I've been posting little bits about it just on my Instagram and on my Facebook, and I think I've just really wanted to get it out and share it. And I just want to start off by saying that all birth stories are significant and important. Sometimes births turn out differently than what one intends. Sometimes they turn out similar to what one intends, and you never really know because it's really unpredictable what's going to happen. But what I did and what helped me a lot was, having my intention for what kind of a birth that I wanted, being sure of my intention, but also not knowing that I'm not completely in control, So while I had this intention, I knew that birth can be unpredictable and we never know what exactly is going to happen. So it's like I had to have my intention and really, hold that and intend that and visualize, but also let go the need to control and make sure, and because then that allows room for flexibility, and that's important, especially when you're giving birth, because you never know exactly what's going to happen. So first of all, before I got pregnant, before we decided this, years ago, my friend Gina had her baby Gaia, and she had her baby at a birth center, and it was a Waterbirth. And I was so grateful that I could get there like within the last hour before she was born. I was coming from the East Coast of Florida, and she was in the tub, and it was so beautiful. The lighting was nice. We had essential oils. I did some reiki on her. Her boyfriend was there, who's now her fiance, was there supporting her. The midwife there was so sweet. She had another friend there who was giving her, essential oils and just supporting her in that way. And just everything was so peaceful and beautiful. And I was so grateful that was the birth that I saw, because I saw that, and it was a unmedicated birth. So again, with that, there's all different options in birth. Some choose to do, pain relief or whatever it may be, and whatever someone chooses for themselves is what's right for them. So, but anyways, I saw hers and I was like, okay, I want to do a natural birth. I want it to be in the water, and I want it to be either at home or at a birth center. So I knew that, and I was so grateful that I got to experience her birth, because I never put much thought into it before about what kind of a birth I would want. And after seeing that, I was like, this is it. This really resonates for me and what sounds good in my soul. So once Danny and I decided to start trying for a baby, I knew that I wanted to find a birth center. So, and then I wanted to do either a home birth or a birth center birth. So we decided, and I explained to Danny just a little bit about it, because he didn't put much thought into it either, because, for whatever, he hadn't put much thought into like where the baby would be born. Kind of assumed it would be a hospital, as most do. That's really common here, and that's a great option if that's what makes you feel comfortable. For me, it was the opposite. What made me feel comfortable was a birth center or a home. So again, you have to listen to yourself and what makes you feel comfortable. So I told Danny about it, and I told him why it was important to me, and also safety was important. So I wanted it to make sure to find midwives that I trusted. I wanted to know, like, ask all the questions needed, like, what if something were to happen? What would we do? All of these things. So I knew like the questions that I wanted to ask the birth centers, and there were two birth centers close to the area, close to where I live, and one of them is Beach City's Midwifery, which is the one that I went with, and it's actually the only one that I went and checked out. So I'm sure the other one's great too, but that one has a location in Long Beach and then another one in Laguna Hills. I told Danny to like ask, you want to ask them any questions. Like, I know there's probably concerns coming up. It's very common to give birth in a hospital, so of course, there might be some questions that someone has. And this was Danny's first time really like hearing about a birth center, and because I had been at Gina's and because I had done some research, I knew about it. So I was like, ask all the questions you want, and I will too. And I just, I wanted us both to feel comfortable. And so we went there, and immediately I felt so comfortable, like just the vibe there. They have an office, they have like a living room area with a couch, and they have 2 birth rooms. So we checked it out, and the birthing rooms look like bedrooms. So it's like a bedroom, and then there's a big bathtub and a bathroom, and it just felt like a home. Like, it felt very comfortable. And when I spoke with the people there, they were very educated. They, all the midwives are very well trained. The birthing assistants are all doula certified, which I loved too. So a midwife is the person who, in case you're not sure what that is, the midwife is the person who is there to help to deliver the baby. And then a doula is like a birth coach, almost like and they're at the birth center, they're midwife assistants. So those who are also trained as doulas they're mostly there for the midwife, but if you need support during your birth, they can help you too if you need it. So that's just how they do it there. And so we went there, we asked all the questions, we were super, on board. After that, I told Danny, like, I felt really comfortable there. What did you feel? He did too. So we decided to book an appointment. So still we weren't like locked in. We had to book the appointment, talk to them. We had more questions. And so in August is when I took the pregnancy test, and we were excited to find out I was pregnant. And then in October is when our first appointment was at the birth center. So then I was wanted to know the difference between a home birth and a birth there, and just with some insurance things and things like that, we decided to go with the birth center. And then but I love home birth too, and I'm very open to, if we have another baby in the future, to do a home birth. But we'll see, once cross that bridge and see if that even happens or what. But I'm not going to think that far ahead. But anyways, so we decided to have the baby at the birth center. Every single appointment was, they really took time with us. They cared so much. They respected they respected what I wanted for my birth. They respected how I wanted the birth, and just the choices that you have to make as a parent. All of our choices, I felt, were heard and accepted. And even before they would do like a check, so towards the end of your pregnancy, they do a cervical check to see how dilated you are. And she didn't say, we're gonna go do this. She's like, do you want me to check to see if you're dilated? So even that, like, I just felt like really empowered, and really like this, they respected my body and what was comfortable for me. And at the birth center, they do all the tests, like the hospital does, like do the group B strep. They do blood work, test. They do like a urine sample, all the, like, those kind of tests. So, thankfully everything came out, okay. And yeah, they would ask me if I wanted tea when I was there, or water, or juice. Another thing that I really liked, going into it, knowing that I would give birth there, is that they really give you space, and they, I felt empowered to create the birth that I intended. I knew I could walk around if I needed to walk around. I could sit if I needed to sit. I could eat if I was hungry while I was in labor. There wasn't restrictions on that. And that was important to me. You know, they want you to be safe, but they also want you to, so they are there and keeping you safe, but they also want to give you the freedom to be able to do these things. So anyways, so that's a little bit about the birth center. I'm already at 10 minutes, so this video might be a little longer than I thought. So, but I thought it was all important. So Julian was due, his guest date was April 29th. And we decided to take a birth class called Hypnobabies. There is a doula in the area whose name is Angela Brown, and I remember, I think it was even before I got pregnant, I was just like searching in the area because I wasn't sure if we wanted a doula or not. And doulas are awesome. I highly recommend it. We didn't end up hiring a doula, but and a part of that, you know, I knew the birth center had one there, and even though they're mainly there for the midwives, we just decided not to this time. But doulas are amazing, and I highly recommend them 120 million %. So yeah, when I was looking into doulas in the area, I had found her, and I had saw her YouTube videos, and I really resonated with her, and I knew that I wanted her somehow a part of the birth, even though we decided to not hire a doula. I knew that I wanted her a part of the birth somehow, and I saw that she taught a class, Hypnobabies, which was recommended to me. My friend Charlene and I went to a yoga class, and the instructor told us about Hypnobabies, and I was like, yes, this is it. And she ended up also doing Hypnobabies, but not, you know, the same teacher or anything like that. But yeah, so that was that. So we decided to do Hypnobabies. And what Hypnobabies is it's a class that helps you to get into the state of hypnosis. So you listen to tracks, the hypnosis tracks relax you, and the idea is that you can send this hypno anesthesia to your body to like reduce pain during birth. Like, it also changes your thoughts about birth. So there's like a positive affirmation track, and it also changes the wording about birth. So instead of saying labor, because labor sounds like work, but that's like the word that we have all agreed upon, but labor means work. So they changed the word in Hypnobabies to birthing time. And instead of feeling contractions or pain, the wording is pressure waves. So it was like a whole reprogramming of my mind. And by the way, when you're in hypnosis, you are completely in control. Like, you can come out at any time. So while I practiced and I did the tracks, I would get deep into hypnosis, but I knew if I needed to get out of hypnosis, I could in any moment. It's not like you don't know what's going on. So you do in any sort of hypnosis, you know what's going on. So you're in control still, but it just helps to relax you. So what Hypnobabies did for me, and I thank Angela for teaching us that, the class ended up just being Danny and I in the class, and usually she has full classes. So that was just, I don't know, I felt it was meant to be like that. And that's how I always feel in my Reiki classes too. Like, whoever's there, it's who it's meant to be there, whether it's one person or 10 people, it's whoever's supposed to be there. So we got to have a really intimate experience, and we had a lot of fun in the class. But yeah, so that class anyways helped to reframe my thoughts about birth, or if I had any fears coming up, it helped me to clear those fears. And I was excited to give birth, you know, and I did have moments where I would feel fearful or something would come up, and then there's even like a fear clearing track. So I would listen to that, and it would put me back in that zone. I would listen to my positive affirmations. I was really diligent about practicing daily, because I was determined to have an unmedicated birth, just to utilize the Hypnobabies, because you can also listen to the tracks while you're giving birth. So I was like, no matter what it takes, this is what I'm gonna do. But also with that, knowing that I have to surrender, and you never know what's gonna happen, but that was my intention. So anyways, took the class, and then just kept practicing. Danny was in the class with me, you know, so we both learned. And there's also Hypnobabies cues. So like someone putting their hand on your head and saying peace, or relax, or, you know, there's different cues. Another one is release. So when someone does the cues during your birthing time, it's supposed to relax you or help to, you know, send that orange hypno anesthesia. So the mind is so powerful. And with the birthing class too, you have to choose if you choose to take a birth class, which I'm so happy I did, you have to choose what resonates with you. And that resonated with me because I love meditation. I love like, affirmations and all of that kind of thing. So once I heard about that class, I didn't even have to hear about the others because I was like, this is it. I just, you know, intuitively felt like that was the one. So took the class, and fast forward to my due guest date. So that's another thing. They call due date a guest date because your baby comes when your baby is ready to come. It's not set on that day that they guess is going to be the day, because it's different. Some babies are born on their due date, some before, some after. So my guest date was April 29th. And, you know, when you tell your friends and family that's your guest date, they start to expect the baby's going to come soon, you know? And at one point I actually thought maybe he would come early. So initially I guessed May, but then after that I was like, maybe he'll come early. No. So we passed the guest day. The week continued, and they told me at the birth center you have 41 weeks plus 6 days to deliver your baby at the birth center. If the baby is born after that, you have to go to the hospital to be induced. And again, a hospital is perfect for some people who feel comfortable giving birth there. And if it would have happened to me and I had to go, I would have had to surrender and do it. But my intention was, what made me feel comfortable was the birth center. And so I really wanted to give birth there. But I was like, you know, whatever happens is meant to be. So if I have to go to the hospital, then I go to the hospital. You know, I had to surrender a little. I would have had to go to the hospital by May 9th because that was the only appointment. But I called again, and the birth center, all the midwives were so supportive, and they were like, we're going to keep trying to get you a later appointment because, you know, I should have had until May 13th. May 13th should be the day that if he didn't come out yet, then that's when I would go, according to the birth center's, you know, how their protocol is, like if you're able to give birth there. So 41 plus 6 days. And they say that they do that, you know, for safety as well. And, but with that, even so, some babies are born even 3 weeks after their due date. So, you know, you never know. But this was like for safety and due to research and things like that they decided, you know, this is how they're going to do it at their center. So anyways, they were so sweet, and they ended up getting me the appointment for the day that I had until, so they gave me the full amount of time to give birth there. They found me an appointment at another place for May 13th. So if I wouldn't go into my birthing time before then, I would have to go. So I was getting a little bit nervous. And I was like, you know, I still want to give birth there. So there was like different options of what you could do before being induced. Like they have options like a membrane sweep, or they have like castor oil. There's like all different things, some like natural things that are supposed to help progress labor. And so actually, even though I was a little resistant to it, I did end up doing the membrane sweep. It is, you know, I don't know that you would say it's natural, but I won't explain it on here because I don't know how to explain it as clearly as, you know, probably could from a Google search. But this was, you know, there were no drugs or anything like that. It's basically, the midwife does something to help to release the hormones. So, basically, I think it's in, I can't even explain it because I don't know. I'm not going to explain it correctly, so I'm not going to try. So anyways, ended up doing that. And then since Monday, I was going, and the membrane sweep I researched first. I checked in with myself intuitively, and the only way that's going to work is if your body is ready to go into labor. So it's not going to work if your body's not ready. So I really didn't want to be induced, so I did that. And so then my body on Monday, so baby was born on Saturday. Monday, I started to feel contractions, and the membrane sweep was actually the next day. I was doing the membrane sweep. I'm almost positive. I might have the days a little mixed up, but so Monday I started to feel myself pressure waves. So what you call contractions, but I called them pressure waves because of Hypnobabies. So I started to feel them, and hours went by. I was still feeling them, and it wasn't Braxton Hicks. It was like actual contractions. Called the birth center, was super excited, like, this is gonna happen. Danny was at work. He asked if he should come home. I said no, like, I'm just gonna, be home. I'll be fine. It's not like progressing yet. Like, I knew he'd be home in a few hours, so I was fine. I was like, I'll just stay home. So I'm like getting some things together and then like resting, listen to Hypnobabies. So some hours go by, he gets home. I'm thinking that I'm gonna go to give birth. No, then it stopped all of a sudden. I even called the birth center, and the midwife on call was Mary. And side note about this, I love all the midwives at the birth center. But we had quite a few appointments with Mary, and I really felt I wanted her at the birth, and I had a dream. I actually had a dream about it, that she was there, and I requested her the next day, and they said, you can't request, it depends who's on call, which makes sense because midwives need rest, and, it's whoever's on call is going to be at your birth. So Monday I was so excited. It was Mary. But like I said, I loved all the midwife. I would have been comfortable with any of them, but I was really hoping for Mary. And then, especially from the dream, I was like, this is who's supposed to be there. And so then the contractions just stopped. So Monday, I guess I wasn't going into labor. Tuesday, same thing happened. For hours, I was feeling contractions, called the birth center, thought I was going to go in, then all of a sudden, they stopped. So contractions, aka pressure waves. Wednesday, same thing happened for hours. It might have been even longer that time, maybe like 7 hours or something like that. Feeling them, nothing happened. Then they all of a sudden stopped. What day am I on? I don't even know. But anyways, it happened every single day until Friday. So when I actually was going into labor. So I found out later I was experiencing prodromal labor, I think it's called. Something like that. And that's when your body, it's like you're going into labor and you're feeling like you're going into labor, but then it just stops. So that was happening to me. Friday, we, things were, I was in it again, and I really felt like this is time. And remember, I had to give birth. In order to be at the birth center, I needed to go into labor before Sunday. Sunday would be the last day. Until Monday, I wouldn't have been able to give birth there. So Friday, I knew it was happening, and then I called. Guess who's on call? Mary, again, the midwife who I really wanted at my birth and who I had a dream was at my birth. She was on call. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. And I was so happy, and I was like, do you think I'm really going into labor? Like, I called the pager because every day that week, since Monday, I was experiencing contractions and like I was going into labor. So she said, yes, I think you are. Because I was telling her how I was feeling, like things were picking up. And then, but we wanted things to progress even more. So Julian was not as low as he needed to be. And I think I was dilated earlier that day when I went in to get checked. I think it was like 3 centimeters. So still like not too far. But really dilation doesn't always depend on like account for when you're gonna have the baby, because some women just dilate quickly, some it takes time. And yeah, I mean, towards the end it does. Once you want to get to 10 centimeters to be able to, when you're like in the pushing phase. But yeah, that didn't really matter, but still I was 3 centimeters. So so my water didn't break at all, and we wanted to kind of like get things going and progressing. So she gave me, what's it called? If there's 3 exercises you can do that are supposed to help like lower the baby. It's called a something circuit, and if anyone has a question about what that is, I can find out exactly what it's called, but something circuit. So one of the poses you do, she explained, she told me about them, I Googled it, and I found out what it was, and this was Friday, so this was to get things like really going. So one of them is like a child's pose, but it's a very like high up child's pose. So first I did that one, and you're supposed to stay in it for 30 minutes. I was very uncomfortable in that one, so I only did 11 minutes. So I was like, okay, that's just what I could do of that one. That's fine. I'll go to the next one for 30 minutes. So another one is side lying, and you lie down and you have pillows in between your legs, and you're lying in a certain position. Again, I'll let you know the name of it if you reach out to me and you want to know what the circuit is. So I did the side lying for 30 minutes, and then after, I felt like my water break a little bit, but it wasn't like a full break. It was just like a little bit. And then I went out and did the curb walking. So that's when you have one foot up on the curb, one on the ground, and you're walking. And I'm experiencing birthing waves, aka contractions. So, it's kind of a lot, but it wasn't unmanageable. Like it was doable. And so I went outside, started doing the curb walking. Not sure what time it was at that point, but then after that, I felt more water. So I was like, okay, things are progressing. So then I called Mary again. I told her, and she was like, okay, we're going to wait until your contractions are a little bit closer together, aka birthing waves. So I was like, okay. So I'm just resting. Danny's home, by the way. He was home that day, so he's resting too. But he came out with me, and we were both trying to like conserve energy as much as we can, because we knew like Julian was going to be born. We needed it. And Danny was basically, since we didn't, we decided not to hire a doula, Danny kept calling himself Doula Dan, that he was the doula. So Doula Dan had to rest too, and also support me here. So we were conserving our energy. We had everything ready to go, and then time was going by, and I just felt like my contractions weren't close together anymore. But at the birth center, they want them to be like a certain amount of minutes apart and last for a certain amount of time. So I didn't get to that point where they were like consistent, but I knew in my heart I needed to just go to the birth center and be there and settle. And honestly, in that moment, I was like, man, a home birth would be so much easier. I could just stay home and just ask the midwife to come there. But no, I was like, we're going to the birth center. I need to just like go settle. So it was like 11ish, and then Mary was like, I trust you. I called her. She was like, I trust you. Come on. Like, she wanted to do whatever felt comfortable for me. So we left. We were going to the birth center, and the Hypnobabies helped me so much that I feel like I was so present during the birth. But I did have one moment on the way to the birth center, and I was like, I can't believe this is going to get more intense than this. Because I was still in the early stages, So I had one moment, and then I was like, just let it go, get back on track. I put in my soundtrack, and we're on our way. So I get there, and it's Mary, and the midwife assistant on call was Whitney, who I had not met Whitney yet. But this was another thing. I knew we needed to leave at 11 and be there, so we got there at like 11:30. Whitney was only on call until 12. So if, say, I was going to get there at 1 a.m., she wouldn't have been there. But Whitney also, even though we never met, she heard about me, and, we have like a lot in common, and we both practice Reiki, and she had a feeling she was going to be at my birth, and she was. But if I would have left like an hour later, she would not have been there. So everything was just in sync and just happening how it was. And immediately when I met her, I just like felt a connection, and I already had felt that connection with Mary, and I was just like, yes, like this is it. Like it was so important to me to have people at the birth that could hold the space for us, positive energy, calming energy, and also that I would feel empowered and, you know, supported, but also be given space to just, you know, that's what my intention was. And I'm so grateful that they were there. So we got there, checked my dilation. I was like 4 to 5 centimeters. So still I was progressing, but I wasn't that dilated. So Danny and I rested for a little bit. We laid down. I did the side lying again. And everything was so in sync. Like I was ready to now, after laying down for a little bit and listening to the Hypnobabies, the deep hypnosis track, I was ready to like get up and move. And Whitney was coming in the room because they gave us our space too. So Danny and I were in the room, like in the bedroom where the baby would be born, that had the tub too, and they would just come in to check on you every 30 minutes or, you know, whenever. But it was like, I think it was like every 30 minutes. So right as I was standing up to walk, Whitney was coming in. It was like perfect timing. I felt like the whole night was like that. Julian's awake, so I will, 1 second, be right back. Okay, so, hi, we're talking about your birth. So anyways, so yeah, everything was so in sync. And then after that, oh, he's been loving holding my hair like that. So everything was like that. Then, you know, I walked around sometimes. What else? Oh, Whitney also was a hypno doula. So that means she knows all the Hypnobabies tools. She knew to like the piece to do on my forehead or to say relax. Like she knew all the Hypnobabies cues from my class. So how cool is that? So she was doing that. Then Whitney and Mary both, they had a rebozo. So it's like this little cloth, and they put it around my belly, and they were doing this thing where it kind of relieves the pressure a little bit. It's supposed to help move the baby down, and it also just helped me to feel good during my birthing waves, aka contractions. So yeah, so we did that, and so yeah, like Mary and Whitney were so supportive during it, gave us the perfect amount of space and perfect amount of support, and it was never like telling me what to do. It was always a suggestion, like would this work for you? Like Whitney had some essential oils. Do you want some essential oils? Yes. So then she put essential oils on a cloth, put it over my nose, or not put it over my nose. I would sniff, gave it to me on a towel, and then I would, you know, smell it. Then, let's see, where are we now? Once we got even, so then things were progressing even more, and then I wanted to be on the couch. So again, at the birth center, you can move around. Before that, sorry, I went in the bath for a little bit, relaxed in the bath. And then, yeah. So then went to the couch, and then that's when I was like in active labor. So my active birthing time. So I was, you know, feeling the birthing waves. I was like kind of hunched over. Danny was there the whole time, like behind me, like massaging me, or just right next to me, like just really being supportive. And yeah, so he was there on the couch, and then Mary and Whitney were out there as well, because they knew I was really progressing. So, hi baby. So then things were really progressing. And then from how I was feeling, I shared it with them, and the energy was like so good in there, by the way, like it was so beautiful. And then I felt like I was ready to push, because I was just feeling, you know, how you feel when that time comes. And so they said, yeah, you're ready. And so from what I was saying, so they thought I was ready. It was never like, oh yes, you are, I know for sure, but they kind of, from what I was saying, it seemed like that. So then that was time for me to get in the bath. And while my intention was to give birth in the bathtub, I was open because I didn't know how I would feel that day. Maybe I wouldn't want to be in the bath when I was in it. But then I went in the bath, and again, like, I was just, you're just so in the moment. Like, when you're giving birth, it's like, you know, this baby's gonna come out, and it's, you know, like, you're about to meet your baby. Like, you're just in it. Like, nothing, the future doesn't matter, the past doesn't matter, you're only in that moment. So I was there, and then we went in the tub, and the pushing lasted for a total of 70 minutes, I guess, but I was in a total time warp. I have no idea, but I was so excited at that point. Like, they say, you know, that's the part that someone might be nervous or whatever, and I like I said in the beginning, I had fears before giving birth, but honestly, when I was to the pushing phase, I was so happy, because I was like, I'm gonna meet my son. I've been in prodromal labor since Monday, and that goes back to intention too. So one of my intentions was that I would have a really short labor, but I was in prodromal labor since Monday, so you can't control everything. So anyways, so I had been experiencing these pressure waves, contractions all week, and I was just like, this is it. Like, this is the last point. It's here. It's finally here. Like, we've worked up to this moment. And in the tub, I also asked Whitney in the beginning, can you please take some pictures, because I really wanted those memories, and she did, and she took so many beautiful pictures. Oh my gosh, she makes the cutest, funniest sounds. So then she took pictures. I was in the bath. I got in a comfortable position that was like comfortable for me, and I was making like noises, like deep noises. I remember in the class, Angela had said, you don't want to make high pitched noises because that like goes up, but you want to make those like deep sounds. And I just was making like deep sounds. It just felt very primal, I guess is the word. And then I started like oming, and like just oming really loud. But it was never like an escaping. It was just like in it. And I've heard women talk about this before, like the sounds that you make. But it's like it's like not a sound to escape. It's like you're breathing your baby down, you're moving your baby down. And the sounds just felt good. So I had initially thought I would be laying back, but what was comfortable for me was kind of squatting a little bit. It's kind of hard to explain, but Danny was in front of me on the bath. So say the bath is long ways, Danny's on the shorter side of the bath, and I'm facing him, and Mary is on the long, and Whitney are on the longer side of the bath. So hi. I'm just waking up. And yeah, and then it was happening, and so a little bit of him came out, and Mary was like, oh, he looks like a merman, like I can see his hair. And we didn't know, would he have hair, would he not have hair? So that was fun. That was like the first glimpse. So she said he looked like a merman. And then Whitney and Mary were both saying how they felt his energy, and it felt so peaceful. So yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, that's what I felt during my pregnancy. Like, he feels so peaceful. I had no idea if I said that out loud or not, but it's true. And then so I would only push when I felt like, I felt this sensation coming over me, like it's time. And I had heard you can also not push and then just breathe your baby down, but for me it felt good to push when I felt it. And then I would stop when the sensation went away. Hey. And then so he was coming out little by little, and then Mary was like, do you want to catch him? So we're in the bath, and I said, yeah, I do want to catch him. And again, Danny was right in front of me. And so the final push, his head was out, and then his body came out shortly after, and I saw him like floating up towards me, and I caught him in my arms. And the baby, when they're in your body, they're in water too, in the amniotic sac, so it's like a smooth transition for them. Hey. And do little sounds. Little sounds. Hungry? Okay. I think he's hungry, so I gotta make this quick. So yeah, then he came out. It was so beautiful. I caught him right in front of Danny and I, and so then we kissed, and it was just like, oh my gosh, the best moment ever. And I felt so supported the whole time. They put him on my chest. We did delayed cord clamping. So the cord that's attached to the placenta, if you do delayed cord clamping, the baby gets all the blood. And so it depends. You can request delayed cord clamping. So we did, they automatically, I requested at the birth center, but they automatically do that. So then you wait for the placenta to come out, and then they don't cut it and clamp it until all the blood is the cord is dry and all the blood has already gone to the baby. So yeah, so that was that, and I'm so grateful. Okay, so I had to go feed Julian. Now he's napping. But I wanted to finish up the story. So, there he goes with the hair grab. So, yeah, so then afterwards, after the birth, then the placenta comes out. We did the delayed cord clamping, which is already protocol at the birth center. And they put the baby on the chest when I laid down right away. Which is so important too for that bonding and everything. Also, encourage the breastfeeding, put the baby to the breast. And I don't know if I just said it because I had to record this part twice, but Brigida was the next midwife on call. And so she helped with the breastfeeding. And I just want to say that part has been a journey, and I definitely want to share there was some difficulty with latching in the beginning, and but we've been breastfeeding since day one, and now we're at a point where he is latching, and we don't have to. I had to use this nipple shield for a little bit, which which helped and allowed him to breastfeed, but it wasn't on skin, so it was a little bit different. So that's been a whole journey, and I definitely want to do another post about that because I don't think it's really talked about enough. As moms, we think this is just going to happen naturally, and a lot of times it does, but a lot of times it takes some patience and some learning. So highly recommend a lactation consultant. If breastfeeding is important to you, it was very important to me. I hired 2 different lactation consultants. I had one and then another one, and now we've been breastfeeding the whole time and going strong, even though it's been a journey and it took a lot of patience and support. Also I just want to add, the end of the birth story. Sorry. So then we were there for a few more hours, not very long. The baby was born May 11th, 7:50 a.m. They let you go in whenever you're ready. So we felt ready to go around 12 something. We just spent some time, we ate, we were just connecting. They gave Danny and I some space just to be just with us and Julian. It was really beautiful. And so we did that. What else? Then when we were ready to go, we left. Oh, Mary printed out his birth chart, which because she knows I love astrology too, which by the way, she is a Taurus. Julian is also a Taurus. The birth assistant Whitney is a Pisces. I'm a Pisces. And then Danny's the Capricorn, who was holding things down, helping out. So so it was just kind of synchronistic that Julian and I were Taurus and Pisces, and Whitney and Mary were Taurus and Pisces. So anyway, she printed out his birth chart. How sweet is that? So that was really cool. And then we were ready to go home, and thankfully the next day was Mother's Day. So usually they have you come in the next day for a checkup, and for you and baby, and since the next day was Mother's Day and a Sunday, we just could hang out. We didn't have to go till the next day, so we were just all together and spent time together. And Angela actually stopped by that day, the doula that was at our Hypnobabies doula. And I just want to add, even though Danny and I didn't hire a doula for the birth, and a big part being that we knew that at the birth center, there also is the midwife assistant is doula certified. I was told they're primarily there for the midwife, but I had support from doulas all the way, and doulas are so worth it, and they are worth the money. If you feel you want to hire a doula for your birth, they are amazing for support, for love. I have friends who are doulas. Whitney was at the birth, and her just helped so much. Oh my gosh. And she's doula certified. Angela was our Hypnobabies instructor. She's also doula certified. She's also a doula. I don't know why I'm saying doula certified, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I guess that's the correct terminology. But then Ariel, my dear friend, is a doula, and she held a mother blessing ceremony for me, which was so amazing, amongst other, and all of these they're all doulas amongst other things as well. But she helped to create that space for us, send intentions, created the most beautiful ceremony. I thinking about it just brings me back to that bliss. But that was a huge part of the birth too. She had my friends, and I also asked for other friends and family as well who couldn't make it, if they could please send positive intentions or Reiki energy, if they were Reiki or prayers for the birth. And I know that made a difference too. So Ariel helped with that, and just love and support along the way. My other friend Annie is a doula as well, and was so supportive during my birth. Highly recommend, doulas. Annie, I happened to meet in August when I was waiting to find out if I was pregnant. We met for the first time, and I had a feeling I was, but it was too early to take the test. And that's when I first met Annie, and she's just awesome. And, all of these women that I know have helped with multiple, with births, and highly recommend them all. But yeah, Annie was just so loving and supportive, and was also at the mother blessing ceremony. And I just know that any of them at a birth would be absolutely magical. So, highly recommend doulas. Also, just, really getting that support during my pregnancy helped so much. And even after too, if someone offers to help you, please accept it. It does take a village, and a lot of stuff you do on your own, as a mom. And I'm only 7 weeks in, but I feel I've had that experience of pregnancy now and birth, and I have friends who were, some who were pregnant with me, some who, one who is fostering now, and so she's became a mom too. So friends who are pregnant, friends who are fostering. a baby. So all mamas, mamas who had already given birth, support from friends and family, and it was never like telling me what to do. You know, every mom has their own way, and you know, it was always like loving support and suggestions if I needed it, or just like, it was always in a loving way, never, you know, trying to tell me what to do, but just basically supporting me and, you know, giving me insight in a way that was loving and supportive. And, you know, some moms gave me hand-me-downs for clothes, which is so helpful. If someone offers you hand-me-down clothes, accept them, because they grow out so fast. Like, he has a few new things too, but the hand-me-downs have been so helpful. He's already like so much bigger, so accept that. I had friends and family who offered to bring food after he was born, so you know, I said yes, and I froze some food to prepare too, so that we could have that. You know, just utilize the support that you have. People like to help, and you know, it feels good to them too. And I just told myself, like, I'm so grateful, and I'm just gonna pay it forward. And you know, I'm talking to you. if you are planning to try to conceive, if you're planning to foster, if you're planning to go through, you know, whatever means, and you know, to have a child, or have any questions that I could maybe help with, or if you ask, or if you want that, or if you don't want that, whatever, just to be of support, I'm here. And you know, I really am grateful that I had that during this time, into this transition into motherhood, because it's a huge transition, and it's so beautiful. But it's amazing, you know, the journey, it just continues. Like, every day is different. Also utilize the support, you know, during the pregnancy, if it's accessible, you know, prenatal massage, prenatal yoga, chiropractic care from someone who specializes in pregnancy, that'll help me. If it's not accessible right now to hire someone, YouTube videos of this, YouTube, you know, different pressure points for massage when you're pregnant, you know, YouTube some prenatal yoga. There's so much. And just you know, I encourage you to utilize the support that there is, and really to you know, it's a lot of mental preparation too. And this is also new, you know, I went through the birth, but this whole journey of motherhood is new, and I just want you to know I'm here for you. Thank you to all my friends and family who have been so supportive, and who were so supportive during the birth. Friends who, you know, were always there when I had these crazy questions, or when I was experiencing something in my pregnancy that I had no idea what was going on. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting me in such a loving way. And everyone who was a part of the birth, and all my friends who were there at the baby showers, at the mother blessing ceremonies, friends and family near and far who couldn't be there, or who have just been there for me along the way. I really appreciate you. And yeah, reach out if you have any questions, or if you just, you know, want some support on your journey, because I gotta pay it forward. That's a big part of why I'm even sharing this, you know. It's important for moms to know too, you have options, and you have options in how you want to birth your baby. You have options in how you're gonna mother your baby, and you know, and utilize your support. Utilize the support. There's also like groups for if you need help with breastfeeding, or postpartum, like talking about things. A lot of these groups are even free. So yeah, reach out if you need anything. Love y'all. Thank you for listening.